makes sense. It makes total sense.
for that moment. But yeah, whatever. All right, quick editor's note for Chris. Today is Wednesday, November 10th. This episode is we're going to be talking about a quick update on my 6-liter project and also how I completely fucking didn't realize that my truck had a whole nother tune on it, and I'm a very happy camper now. So, do you think we should start with the tune or the 6-liter?
Start with the tune, I think, is a good story. Keep them interested.
Yeah.
Sure.
All right. And so I actually figured out why I was digging around with the tuner as well.
Let's fucking hear it.
All right, so I got a quick story time about the tuning I have in the Excursion. So the Excursion's an 01. It's got an old school Edge Juice of Attitude on there.
Like
Right?
the OG one.
OG. Like,
Yeah.
doesn't even plug into the OBD2 port.
Yeah.
Just the sensors, the box underneath the hood, and the battery.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, my opinion of the quality, not the quality, but the effectiveness of the tune, like how brutal it was, because I've ran a lot of different tuners. My go-to is usually Gearhead.
Right.
And I will say Gearhead tuning currently compared to the Edge tuning of that day, I don't think there's really too much of a comparison. Like that.
When you're talking a relatively stock truck.
Yeah, relatively
there's only
stock truck.
So much
Yeah,
that
there is
can
only so much
happen.
you can do and whatnot. But so the tuner I have on there, I think according to the serial number, it's like it was produced in like 04 or something like that. So it's old. Like,
Yeah.
and this thing's never been updated. I guarantee it.
Yeah. I don't think you can update it.
If you can, even.
Yeah.
I don't think you can.
They don't even make that cable anymore. Like, it actually uses a floppy disk.
Yeah. You have to take the circuit board out. You have to unplug or unscrew the two gray halves.
Yeah.
Take that circuit board and hardwire it into another circuit board for it to read.
Yeah.
It has to become part of the computer. It literally has to go inside the computer.
Yeah.
And so I've since day one, I've basically, once I fixed the boost leak on there, I've put it on the race tune, and it has an adjustment inside of each tune for low boost fueling.
Yeah.
I have that turned all the way up.
All the way up.
All the way up.
All the way up.
I'm going to raise no bitch. All right.
Yeah.
The only thing that I have turned down on it is defueling at wide open throttle, because it's a stock transmission.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to kill it. And one of the guys that I'm pretty sure his name's Trevor, that I'm friends with on Instagram, is also a listener. We talk about a lot of 7.3 stuff back and forth. He actually has or his brother has a manual 6.0 with a KC Stage 2 turbo on it, straight piped. He sent me a video of him towing with it. I really want a manual 6.0.
Yeah.
It is like the best of all worlds
Yeah.
as far as noises. It's,
No, as far as sound goes, yeah.
and having it be a anyways. And he sent me a video. So he had ordered some tunes, or ordered a Hydra, and just got some tunes off of like the database, which is not uncommon. A lot of people do it. And his truck was just like, when you switch from tune to tune, the engine noise itself was really loud. And I get it. The tuning changes how hard the injectors fire and whatnot. It is like when I thinking over like to my OBS, when I go from, even with the dynamite injectors in there, when I go from a stock tune, even just to any sort of horsepower tune above stock,
It's louder.
there's a noticeable change in volume, and it's usually louder.
Yeah.
But this was like, he sent me a video of him basically like cruising in stock tune and then changing it to like the 25 horsepower tune that he had, and it sounded like the injectors were on the dashboard. It was just like loud as shit.
Yeah.
And so I messaged him back, and I was like, it's loud, but
Yeah.
I don't know about that. So we went back and forth a little bit there, and we're going to get back to the story. Let's get through the intro real quicker, because I got a feeling it's going to be a little bit longer than we want to here. But hello, everybody. This is Ben and Tyler from America's Diesel Podcast, coming at you from Spokane, Washington. Thank you for tuning in. make sure and check us out on Google Play, SoundCloud, iTunes, Spotify, anywhere that you listen to podcasts. You can find us on there by searching America's Diesel Podcast. You can also find us on the YouTubes. It's a great place if you want to leave a comment or kind of get down on the chat that we usually have a couple comments going back and forth every episode. You can do that there by searching America's Diesel Podcast. You can also find, if me and Tyler say anything wrong, our resident fact checker, Jim Lawrence, will call us out and tell us we're both idiots.
Fact.
Fact check, fact correct. You got it, Jim. That as Tyler, reviews go.
Reviews. We need to keep those reviews coming in. In fact, I need 200. Sounds like a lot, but 200. I mean, $200 is like nothing. Like $1,000. Hey, that's some money.
That's a lot of money.
Okay, 200 more. That's nothing. We need to keep those reviews coming in. I don't care. Any computer hackers out there? Can you all just?
I know there's probably some 16-year-old nerd listening right now. I was like,
Yeah,
hacker? Did you say hacker?
Yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah.
No,
Do
we want them legitimate reviews. We need legitimate. We need 200 more. Actually, only about 100, but I want 200. Keep those reviews coming in. Leave them on any of the platforms that have been mentioned earlier. Preferably, though, for those 200, we're looking for iTunes. But that's, hey, beggars can't be choosers. So screenshot your review. Send it to podcast@dieselpowerproducts.com. Make sure you include a picture of your truck and an address that we can send a sticker to. It looks just like the logo on behind us here and on our cups. I want to get some hats.
Yeah, I want some cool hats. I like a gray one.
Yeah.
Last thing to go with here, if you do need parts for your diesel pickup, make sure and check out dieselpowerproducts.com. We do have sales techs on the phone 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Pacific time, Monday through Friday, to answer the questions you have or get you an order placed ASAP. Their phone number is 888-993-4373. If you are trying to get a part ASAP, that is your best bet. If you have questions about your build or whatnot, I'm more than happy to answer them. But if it's one of those things like, I get this thing like question answered and shipped out like now, I would talk to them. Okay. Lastly, sorry, one more thing. Tracking orders. If you are placing orders online, if you could do us a favor and throw podcast in the notes section, or if you are calling in and you're talking to one of our handsome sales, they're all handsome. They're all beautiful. We have a beautiful sales staff. Corey, you put that face away right now. You are handsome as hell. If you're talking to them, make sure you let them know that you are a podcast listener. That way we can make sure that your order gets put on the podcast order list. Yeah. Because that kind of shows that we're not doing this all just for funsies. It's actually got some productivity going behind it. You know what I mean?
There's actually people that listen. Woohoo!
And not only do they listen, but they buy parts.
Yeah.
So I greatly appreciate that. Those of you that have ordered, really appreciate it. Those of you that are thinking about ordering, what's holding you up?
Yeah.
Legit. Like if there's, honestly, I'll take some constructive criticism right now. If you're like on the fence and you're like thinking about order from someone else, but you're listening to our podcast, why?
Yeah. Why?
Why do we? No, I'm just kidding. All right, let's get back to the story here. So he sent me that video, and I think that was Sunday or something like that. And I've been kind of thinking back and forth. I'm like, is it too loud? Was it loud? Was it not loud? And so I was driving my excursion last night.
Mm-hmm.
No, night before last. I'm sorry. And I'm thinking to myself, well, you know what? I'm going to turn it back to stock real quick and see if I notice a huge difference.
Yeah.
So first off, the original thought in there was I get a check engine light whenever I do a hard pull on it, and it's because of the ICP being out of range, just because they just couldn't control that at that point in time. So it throws a soft engine light, doesn't do fuel or anything like that, just throws a light. And if you clear it once, it won't come back on until you start the truck again. So I went down and I was thinking to myself, okay, well, I'm going to kick that down, low boost fuel, and kick it down a little bit till the light doesn't come on. I was like, well, if I'm dicking around the tune right now, I might as well go down to stock, listen to it, and go back up to the race tune, listen to it, and see there's a really big audible difference.
Right.
So I go in there and I click the down arrow to stock, listen to it, blip it, whatever. And then I'm like, I'm at a stoplight, so I'm kind of looking, but not really. I just keep hitting the up arrow until it stops, and and it gets louder, and I blip it, and whatever. And I look at it, and I'm like, 5. Tune 5?
Yeah.
I have a 5th tune? This whole time I've been in race tune, thinking it was the highest tune with the low boost feeling turned all the way up, and I'm thinking to myself, God, this tuning is like, it's okay, but
Yeah,
I mean, it's not.
could be
It could be better. I
Yeah.
mean, and again, you've heard me talk about it too. It's like nothing against Edge. I mean, things have evolved a lot since then.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But I'm thinking to myself, like, man, things really have evolved a lot.
Right.
And so I'm like, extreme. So I go into extreme, low boost feeling all the way up, and luckily it was right in front of an on ramp.
Yeah.
And
Here we go.
as soon
Yeah.
as I leave the stoplight and like press the throttle, I'm like, this is what I was waiting for. And I lean on the throttle, like and just boost, making all the good noises,
Yeah.
making the feel good, shifting. I'm like,
Like I had this the entire time and I had no idea.
I've had this for a year. I've had this for nearly a year, and I freaking didn't know it. Like, screw me for
How
not
do you?
knowing.
How do you? I don't.
I pressed up and I was like, race. Well, that's probably, I don't see why they would go higher than race.
You didn't.
No,
Boop.
I didn't. I just,
It's crazy.
I don't know. I just never thought to go up to tune 5.
Yeah. Hey,
But tune 5 is there, and I'll tell you what, shits and
but
gets.
she's still on 2.5. I'm sure.
Oh, she's never coming down.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that made me very happy. I'm glad that I've done up pipes. And also another thing to kind of like when people talk about modules on trucks and how this one works. So the way that because I have the Edge Juice with Attitude, the old one on there, which also has a small monitor, which monitors EGTs and boost.
Yeah.
And then I also have my Edge Insight plugged into the OBD2 port to monitor all my other stuff. The funny thing is you can kind of see, because it is essentially boost fooling, because if you look at the boost on the Juice with Attitude, the old one, because that's actually like it's teeing into the boost sensor, the map sensor on the truck.
Yeah.
So it's basically interpreting the signal before the truck's computer can see it, but it'll give you the hard data to the screen. That'll show actual boost numbers. If you watch it on the Edge Insight, which is what the computer sees,
Yeah.
it never goes above 11.
It's just hard stop.
Hard stop at 11. Like I can literally be like making 21, 22, 23, 11.
Mhm.
Where I think they probably have maybe lost it there, they didn't do anything about back pressure. Because I can watch back pressure because there's a back pressure sensor on there. And the boost will be at 11 and back pressure will be at like 30. I don't know, just way the hell up there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow.
Starting to sound like 6-7 Cummins.
Yeah. I'm surprised this isn't defueling right now. I'm thinking to myself, like, you know what? I bet you the other tuners take care of that. That's like where things have like evolved. You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah.
But yeah, so that was my. I was like, God, I'm an idiot.
Yeah. You are. No.
It drives so much nicer now. Like it really does. Like I was just
Yeah.
astonished.
I've always, with every truck that I've had tuning on, it's always been on like the go fast tune. You just, if you don't need it, you don't just you just keep your foot off the pedal. I mean,
Yeah.
self control.
I don't have that.
Yeah.
My go to usually tell people is the highest tune that you can feel comfortable having the highest tune with the lightest foot
Yeah.
will typically net you the best results. I'm not saying go put your truck
There's
on the.
one of those asterisks that happen
Yeah.
after that statement always.
I'm not saying go put your truck on because a lot of times different tunes will have different like transmission calibrations or whatnot.
Yeah.
I'm not saying put it on like the 250 horse drag race tune where like it locks out overdrive or something like that.
Right.
I'm talking like if you have like street tunes that are basically like 20 to 180, you're probably going to end up in the 180, like and just have a very light foot. But just
Yeah.
remember, you start having a heavy foot daily with a 180 tune or the high tune, you're going to start breaking parts.
Yeah.
Name of the game.
Yep.
So that was my little intro story about the excursion. You may have tuned in this episode because it's an update on my 6-liter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which probably we've hardly really talked about it. So
We haven't. I've played this one a little close to my chest because honestly, I didn't know for sure what was going on.
now that you know, so you
Now that I know, I feel like I should explain this to people. So I'll give you a rundown quick, real fast here. So it is a 2004 Ford F-450 extended cab long bed. It has a flatbed on it. It's got about 160,000 miles on it. We got it for a great deal because it had some issues. And when I say we, I'm in this project with another person, and we are neither him or I. Like he's worked on a 6-liter before. I honestly have never put my hands on one.
Yeah.
I've talked to people a lot. I sell parts a lot. I know a lot about it, but I've never. This is a good learning
Yeah.
experience for both of us.
hands
honestly,
on. Yeah.
yeah, and it's also because we got into this thing at such a good deal that we'd be stupid not to learn on this.
Yeah.
Because even if we learn and take the wrong route and end up doing stuff that we didn't need to, we can still sell it and break even, 100%.
Yeah.
If we don't, then it was a great lesson, and we'll know for the next one or something like that if we want to try it again or something like that, or for my own sake.
Right.
So it had a here's the issue that we had. It would basically, and if you know 6 liters, once I describe this issue, you may know exactly what we're talking about. However, I'm almost guaranteeing you don't, because I conferred with a shop owner who makes a lot of money working on 6 liters,
Yeah.
and a friend who does a lot of 6 liter stuff. Showed them the video, showed them the data, and they were both like, I don't know. So
Well, so like my buddy that we messaged, he had ideas. He asked, he did the right thing that what a tech would do would
Right.
be ask, what is this? What is this?
and I didn't quite have that yet,
Right.
but honestly,
I told him last night
What it was?
What it was,
Uh-huh.
and he's like, oh. Yeah.
It's not, like after you get like, that'll get you.
Yeah.
It'll freaking get you, man. But the issue that we're having is once up to operating temperature, you basically couldn't get over 2,000 RPM.
Yeah.
You could have it floored. And
Probably the 6 liters power stroke stuff makes me sleepy.
yeah. And it just put out just raw fuel coming out the pipe.
Yeah.
Just the smoke.
Like no air, all fuel.
Nowhere, all fuel. And we got a scan tool on there. And the data that, they were asking for was ICP and IPR.
Yep.
When we originally bought the truck, I had a scan tool on there. I did that. And while I didn't have the values recorded down, they were not out of spec. And I mentioned that to both of them as well. Like, and my friend too, I was like, I know that last time I tried it, they were not like going crazy.
Right.
But if you were to ask me what the numbers were, I don't know.
Right.
Like, but they like knowing what I know, they didn't throw a red flag.
Right.
But so and no check engine light, just issue. And we took out it's all fully emissions intact, fully stock. We took out the EGR valve, and it was just absolutely. It came apart when we took it out.
Oh, really?
So it's like, okay, well, that's a start. If the valve is kicking in extra, or shutting out or something like that, that could be an issue. Okay, well, we're gonna start there, and it had an oil leak and whatnot. So we ended up getting in there, and we knew that it needed an EGR cooler because we could see some stuff seep in there. And here's the thing about 6 liters, and one of the reasons why I steer people away from 6 liters as first trucks. As even being a mechanically inclined person, and my partner in this being also a very mechanically inclined person, there's just a lot on top of where you need to work on this truck.
Yeah.
So for us to get like a good hands-on on working on it, we took the radiator out, we took the intercooler out, we had the AC condenser still in there. We took the fan off, and it was actually enough room in there now so that you can actually stand in front of the engine.
I'm surprised you had to take all that.
Cooler.
I'm surprised you had to take all that out for
Brian.
For Brian to actually stand in there.
So in the past I've mentioned, like, if you're going to do up pipes, call your tallest, lankiest, skinniest friend with the longest arms. That's my friend Brian.
Seriously, he's like 8 feet tall with like 16-foot freaking wingspan.
Yeah.
Arms like.
The dude's freakish.
Yeah, he could take a 16-foot tape measure and go, there's the end of it.
He carries plywood long ways.
He does. I think I've used him as a pipe cleaner once.
The best part is I know he listens to this. So we get in there, and this is where the 6 liter starts costing a lot of money. We stayed on budget, honestly, guys. Like we planned for all this. We stayed on budget, and this is why I mentioned to people, have this money in your pocket, ready to go. So doing an EGR cooler, you are so far, like, you have a lot of stuff off of the engine, and you would be stupid not to handle the other stuff that's right there.
Yeah.
Like intake manifold gaskets, a lot of that stuff comes with the EGR cooler as well. Anyhow, oil cooler, all that kind of stuff is right there. We didn't replace the high pressure oil pump because it was still good, was not leaking. We did end up replacing the turbo, and then the water pump which is another common thing to do since you're in there already. We did not because it was not seeping and was in good shape. But that is the reason why I mentioned, like, if one of those things goes out, it's not because your EGR cooler is bad. It's that it took so much time and effort to get in there to change that.
Right.
You'd be kind of stupid not to just put a new one in. It's a since you were there type deal.
Right.
Since you're there, you might as well do that. And that's where that $289 part becomes a $6,000 mechanic bill. That's what I'm getting at here. But I will say, being, you know, mechanic, a gearhead type guy, once you strip all that stuff, you know, out of the engine bay, it's a V8, man.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's a freaking V8. Just there's a lot of goop on top of that. So I would say I do feel much more comfortable working on it now. I have a good visual, just having my hands on everything of all that stuff. We did stand pipes and dummy plugs, and then we replaced the O-rings on the injector. What's the name? The ball tubes.
Yeah.
Ball tubes. We replaced the O-rings on there. So long story short, we did all that stuff and got everything back together, had our first this is the funny 6-liter thing, right? So we broke a couple sensors when we were doing stuff. It happens. And we replaced one of them, and I replaced a whole bunch of them. And as we're trying to get this truck started, keep in mind, this whole time this truck could barely drive under its own power because of this issue was so bad. No check engine light.
Yeah.
Still start the truck, still run, like drive it around. Can't get very far, very fast, but you can drive it. The first crank up wouldn't even let us start the truck because one of the oil temp sensors was not reading. One of the oil temp sensors.
Yeah, I heard you. Yeah.
It was not reading.
It's like it's cold right now.
Like,
Don't
you'd
worry
think,
about it.
you'd think like, all right, well, and then when I say one, it's because it has multiple.
Yeah.
You'd think it would say like, well, we've got data from, you know, at least one or two others. We've got enough to at least assume what that is now, and maybe
Right.
you know maybe we'll get it started and throw a light.
Yeah.
But wouldn't even let us start it.
Well, because there's like, what is it? I can't remember the generation of Cummins because there's like a crankshaft and a camshaft position sensor. Like if one failed, like it will still like assume the other as long it'll still run.
Yeah, I look at that as like
Yeah.
when you unplug an ICP sensor on a 7.3.
Yeah.
Like it's not reading anything, but it's going to assume what it is given all the other parameters that it
Right.
has. But luckily, we still had a scan tool on hand, and like it was throwing a light without even starting, and all of it pointed to oil temp. And then we start looking at it more like, well, that wire's kind of chafed. Luckily, we had a 2-wire plug hanging around, so we just spliced it in, fires right up. Oh, that was cool.
Sweet. Yeah.
Sweet. Issue still there. Shit. That sucks. So we're sitting there racking our brains. We come back to it like the following weekend because we both still have other jobs. Like obviously I'm here working, so it's basically like a weekend type thing. So we come back the next weekend and we're just trying to like racking our brains, trying to figure this thing out. And I'm finally like, okay, this is the weekend after we messaged your friend and I messaged my friend, and they both wanted to know actual hard data. I was like, all right, well I've and the other thing is I could not remember if we actually had physically tested fuel pressure. So we got a fuel pressure gauge on there, like a manual gauge.
Yeah.
Fuel pressure's good. I know I mentioned before we had a whole bunch of fuel coming up. It's one of those things like I had to know. Basics, right guys? Basics.
Well, yeah, finding out what's working versus trying to find a single
You've
issue.
mentioned that a bunch of times. It's
Yeah.
like you may be worried about what's not working, but like let's find out what is.
Right. Just coming at it with a different mindset.
Yeah. And so we started just kind of ticking off what we had available and what was good. And so we're finally sitting in there, and it's getting towards the end of the day. And it was I had my son with me, and it's me, Brian, and my son sitting in the cab of this truck with a snap-on scan tool on there, trying to like just how are we not figuring this out? This is freaking pissing me off. And I'm like, well, and your mind and we started trying to watch a whole bunch of things. We checked fit and voltage, we checked all that kind of stuff. Everything's checking out. There's no check engine lights again.
Right.
And we've all been to that point. And the point I'm describing, and I know you've been there, I'm sure Corey's been there, I'm sure if you've listened, you've been there, where it's like you did everything you thought it was going to do to fix it, and it's still happening. It's either going to be now something stupid or something hellaciously wrong.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, guys, in my experience, it's usually like 85-90% of the time, it's just something stupid.
Yep.
But you have such a hard time accepting that's stupid. You know, it's like, if it was stupid, I would have known. All right.
Right. How come I haven't seen it yet?
Yeah. How come I haven't seen it? How come all of the and keep in mind, like during the week at home and stuff, I'm Googling shit.
Right.
I'm on forums. I'm reading stuff. I'm trying to find past experiences with other people that have this thing, and I can't find anything. Can't find anything.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, like maybe we do have a cracked piston. Maybe we do. Like maybe this is the end. Like this is like shit. We got a dud. You know? This is not good. My wife's gonna be pissed.
Right.
And so lastly, I'm like, okay, and I'm getting flustered. He's getting flustered. My son is, being a trooper. He was with us the whole day, and he's in the passenger seat of the truck on an iPad. He's starting to expire.
Yeah.
We've all been there. He's like 4 years old. It's like he's gotta start getting this kid home. I'm like, you know what? Just for my own peace of mind here, because you think automatically worse, cracked piston, something else going on. This Scanto can deactivate individual cylinders, correct? Yes. Okay. Let's at least kill each cylinder one by one, make the issue happen, and see if there's any one of them.
Any change.
If it gets worse or better with all of them, so we can at least just alleviate the fact that's like, is this a whole engine problem? Is this a bank problem? Is this an injector problem or like a whole problem? Like just isolate where it is at least. Because if I can at least isolate it,
we'll narrow it down, especially with no check engine light. It doesn't give you any sort of insight on anything that is causing a problem.
Doesn't give me shit.
Right.
And so if I can at least we've narrowed it down to the driver's side of the engine. Okay. That's where we're going to start looking. Yeah. We're looking for chafed wires. We're looking for whatever. At least we know area of the engine. And so we go through all 8, and they're basically all identical. And so, again, we're kind of like, we're sitting there, you're kind of flustered, but the brains are thinking. You're thinking. And I just have this, I'm taking credit for it because I'm the one who thought of it, but it's one of the things where you have this aha moment, right?
I think they call it a epiphany.
Epiphany, light bulb, epiphany, whatever you can call it. Just moment of clarity, right?
Yeah.
So you start thinking to yourself, like, I have this massive amount of fuel coming out of the tailpipe. We verified fuel pressure. We have fuel. The turbo, we've manually actuated the vanes. They're moving the way they're supposed to. We don't have a boost leak. So, air. Something, just air. Air.
Yeah.
I know the EGR valve is working. We've electronically opened and closed it. That's working. Air. And instantly, the image that popped in my head, because this truck is basically falling on its face, is when Brian had the throttle valve snap shut on him.
Yep.
And he's like, he damn near threw me through the windshield. And I was like, I'm like, wait, this has a throttle plate on it. This has a throttle plate. This has a throttle plate on it. And I'm thinking to myself, like, why the hell didn't I think about this earlier?
Right.
It's shutting air to all cylinders, throttle plate. I'm like, Brian, can you deactivate the throttle plate? And he's in the scan. I got the scan tool going, and I'm like, F it. Get out the truck, unplug it.
Yeah.
Get back in. Woo!
Perfectly fine.
Making all the noises, and we're looking at each other, and I'm like, shut up. Shut the F up. No way. And I'm like, all right, well, let's test and check. Go back, plug it back in. Unplug it. Vroom, vroom, vroom. I've never seen such a tall, lanky man walked away from a truck, like, happy but pissed. And he legitimately, because you go through a lot of emotions during that stuff as a car guy, and when you've got money on the line.
Yeah.
You come to a knee and take a prayer.
Yeah.
He was just, because probably for a minute.
That was probably the first time, the whole entire time you guys had that, you guys were both at eye level.
Yes. I was actually on a stool. We're making jokes about how tall Brian is. But it's the...
Freaking take a knee. You probably dented the cement.
It's like a jackhammer.
I love you, Brian. I'm sorry.
But it's that, for probably 90 seconds, for 2 minutes there, we didn't know if we had a cracked piston. Because you're trying to figure it, and just to have it be that. And you're like, I'm like, all right, well, we know what that is. My kid's starting to get, like, I got to go.
Yeah. We're going to sleep good tonight.
We're going to sleep good tonight. So I started doing a whole bunch of research and everything like that. And the first thing I found on there is that thing is used to prevent runaways. I'm
Yeah.
like, well, shit. If it's being activated, does this thing think it's running away like that? we
Well,
should
and it
probably-
also creates a scavenging effect when EGR is
That's what I found out later.
yeah.
And,
Because 6.7 Cummins has the same thing basically.
Yeah.
So which is really, I mean, most of the time those don't go bad. That at least I know of with other engines because it's pre EGR, so there's not like a bunch of soot that usually builds up on those.
Well, no. Well, yeah, it's pre-EGR. I mean, yeah, it's
At least
before
on
EGR,
a
the
6.7.
system.
I'm talking about like a 6.7 Cummins.
Yeah.
But I would assume it's
same
the same
thing.
on that.
It's basically, it looks like a throttle body, like on a gas
Yeah, it's
engine.
yeah.
And sorry to refresh my barley juice and my
Yeah.
mustache.
Yeah, look it up.
But so the more research I did, basically it's there for to help a scavenging effect with the EGR, and they went away from it in 05, like Ford did.
Yeah.
So I'm like, like there's even carb numbers on stuff that eliminates it. I'm like, we don't need this.
Right.
We're good. Like leave. I mean, they're gonna. And so what I did find out, like why those fail or what happens with those, is could be a combination of two things. I think one happened. They do have a position sensor inside to say like how open or how closed it is.
Right.
I think the position sensor or the position, whatever you want to call it, was failing. So it knew to
Didn't-
activate, but
but
it didn't know how
wh-
far to
exact-
open and
yeah,
close. So it was
yeah.
just shutting all the way.
Yeah.
So that, I mean, maybe that was stuck, maybe it wasn't. I don't know. Or because it's an electronic like servo motor on there, or the motor wasn't strong enough. Like basically, once it went anything from straight to angled, it wasn't strong enough to keep it from snapping shut.
Right.
So
Like,
I
yeah,
think
the
it was-
air would take over and move it itself.
Yeah, I think it was one of those two things. I'm leaning towards it just not knowing what position it's in,
Probably.
personally.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
But you just leave it unplugged and it's fine.
yeah, no lights, no nothing, and
Dude, I would take that plug and I would take 2 hammers and I'd be like, I hate you, and just smash.
I kill you.
Smash. Like that would be like the only thing that would make me feel like
Yeah.
better about the situation.
So I that night I messaged my buddy out in California, and I was like, I just messaged him throttle plate, and he just like 9,000 LOLs. Like
That's the same thing. I was talking to Jeremy last night, and I was like, "Oh, dude, you remember when I was sending that video?" I was like, "Well, they found out what it was. It was a throttle valve." He's like, yes, oh yes, those throttle valves, yes."
And it was keep in mind like the messages that we sent them. I sent them with like the preface of look, like I'm on this side of the counter. If someone sent me this,
Yeah,
I would ask you what's IPR and ICP.
Right.
100%. I'm sending this to you just as one of those things where like, does it ring a bell? It's like when someone calls in and says like my transmission is shifting funny on an OBS 7.3 and I can't, my torque converter locks in and out. I've done this, done that. I'm like, check your brake lights. And they're like, F you, don't talk to me anymore. And I'm like, no man, seriously, check your brake lights.
yeah.
Like, what do you mean? And this is because it happened to me too. But like the reason that the converter will lock or unlock, it works off of the circuit on the brake lights. If you have a brake light out, it won't know to lock or unlock, or may unlock and lock inadvertently.
That's the stupidest shit.
And lo and behold, because I had that happen, and I messaged Ryan Stewart.
Yeah,
Shout out Ryan Stewart. I messaged him, and he's like, check your brake lights. And I literally told him, I was like, F you. He's like, no, seriously, do it.
yeah. Are you gonna ask me to fill my washer fluid too?
Yeah.
Because that's low.
Should I go
Yeah.
pick some grapes as well,
Yeah.
sir?
Should I-
And so lo and behold, I checked the third brake light, replaced the bulb, issue went away. I was like, shut.
that like seems to me like one of those things where it's like they finished the truck and like they went to like go inspect it and they're like, oh shoot, we've got these wires that we didn't attach. Like, what's easiest? Brake light circuit.
Yeah.
Tie it in. Screw it.
Yeah. It's like, well, we need to know when
What?
the transmission needs to know when he hits the brakes. Well, we should probably put that on the brake sensor. Yeah, we already finished that part.
Yeah.
So, the funny thing is that the frame mill, right where this is,
Yeah, it's right. There's brake line. The brake wiring
the brake wire is
for
right
the
there.
lights. Yeah, we'll just tie right into that.
I mean, think about it, guys. Like, you hit the brakes, the brake lights come on.
Yeah.
I don't see a problem.
Yeah. Listen, the brake lights come on even when the headlights aren't on.
Yeah.
We're good. We're good.
But yeah, and
Let's also make it hold 28 quarts of oil. Just an idea.
1 billion quarts of oil. But yeah, so we
Oh, that's funny.
continuing on there. So I did my research and I let him know the next day. I was like, look, leave it unplugged. We can gut it. We can replace it, whatever. But for the time being, let's hammer out whatever else needs to be done because we did have the passenger side rear axle hub bearings were toast. So we were going to replace those. But like we want to kind of tackle one thing at first.
Yeah.
Like let's not make this truck immovable while we're still handling a drivability issue.
Right.
So let's make sure the next day we came back, got the coolant in there, got all that stuff, blah, 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 got it ready, roadworthy. And this is where the O-rings come in hand, guys, okay? Pulled it out of the shop, take for a quick rip up and down the road real fast, and it's just puking coolant. Shit. This is not good. And we isolate it to there's a coolant pipe coming off of the oil pump with an O-ring seal on it, like an 8mm bolt holding it in there. And
I'm sure you had that O-ring probably in your pocket.
Well, I did, actually. It wasn't in a pocket. But, yeah, we had an O-ring and we replaced it because it came in one of the kits. But I guess when we put it in, it must have pinched it or something like that. I don't know. But luckily, we had, a case of O-rings.
Freaking guys.
Put that in there, and the coolant leak stopped.
I'm going to just buy you an O-ring for Christmas.
Just one single one?
Yep.
Okay.
You can wear it on your wrist. You could.
I'll find a way to use it, man.
I'm sure you will.
I got 2 7.3s in my life.
You're
You think I can't
you're
find...
gonna we're gonna have a podcast like 6 months after Christmas. You'll be like, "Hey Ty, you remember that freaking O-ring you got me for Christmas? I finally used it." And I'll be like, "Oh my god,
Hell yeah,
dear God."
So we get it out there. We take it for a nice long drive. Go through the let it heat up. Drives and shifts, and we're like.
Fucking send it.
I mean,
Send
obviously
it.
you can still hear the grinding from the bearings, but like
Yeah.
it's moving, it's shifting, it drives good,
Yeah.
and we're like, hell yeah, I've got a win out of it. And then we did start noticing a little bit of issue with the turbo, and it was basically.
Did you order a new one for it?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
It was leaking from the center section. I know what you're thinking. Just do a rebuild kit. Like, yeah, I know, but if I'm gonna do a rebuild kit on there. Chances are that we probably need to go on there and clean the veins out from all of because when we cleaned that intake manifold out, it was soupy. Like that thing was spitting tons of fuel and oil and just all kinds of shit in there, and that all went through the exhaust manifold or the turbine on there. So I was like, if we're gonna go in there, that means we got to do a unison ring and veins. And at that point, we don't know for sure if the solenoid is good or bad on there. So we need to do a solenoid. And it's like when you start doing that and adding up all those parts, the turbo is still more. But then it's like, how much time is it going to take you to do that?
Right.
And I'm not saying that we're like under the gun, but honestly, guys, we're kind of under the gun. Like we're trying to get this thing done. Yeah.
Can we pause?
Yeah.
I gotta freaking piss.
Go.
I usually always piss before I take a nap.
6 of your stuff just puts me to sleep.
Trying to figure out more like engagement for these dudes. I don't know if like having like little questions that you can like tell them to answer or something would help with like comments or anything like that. So.
Yeah. I'll try and mix that in. Great.
I don't know. You think it's a good idea?
Yeah, we should. I mean, everybody else does it, and I probably should too. I need to FaceTime with my kid real quick. Hopefully he's listening to Mom. Or you could just not take my FaceTime call. Apparently my son needs a pep talk. Hey. Oh, you're not at the table anymore. Are you being a stinker? Mustard? Okay, you're not a baby. Use words, bud.
No, you know how he is when he gets a video
instantly turns into a retard. Yeah.
He's getting big.
So, how's it going?
It's going. We're taking a quick pee break
Hey.
on the second episode. But
Ben was putting me to sleep on this episode. On this episode, yeah.
That's not good.
we're making great content. Hey, Ricky. Hey, what are we doing on Saturday?
What are you and Daddy doing on Saturday? Hey, what are you and Daddy doing Saturday? Where are you guys going? He's on a whole nother level.
Okay.
So you're starting your second one, or you're taking a break on the second one?
Tyler had to pee for the second
I had
one.
to pee. I had to pee. I have a small bladder. I don't know what to. It's small, very small.
I know how you feel.
Yeah. You guys got Christmas stuff already up in that house?
Okay, so how long do you think until you're home?
Probably, I'd say another 45 minutes
Till you leave?
until I'm home.
Oh, so you don't have much longer then?
No.
Oh. Okay. Alright, well, I'm gonna try and get him in jammies and get him going to bed, because I'm tired.
Okay. What'd you do for dinner?
Pizza. So there's a half a Hawaiian pizza. If you want that.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine with me.
There's also chicken apple sausage and whatever else.
Hey, Ricky, what are Saturdays for?
What are Saturdays for? The what?
The boys.
The boys.
Where are you and Daddy going this Saturday?
Hey, what else do we do on Saturdays? Is it time for basic dude stuff? Basic dude stuff. That's right. Okay. All right, bud. I gotta go. I gotta finish work. I'll be home soon. Okay. What?
You pooped?
Bye, I love you, and either poopies or boobies. I don't know.
Hey.
I'll take. I mean,
I'll take both.
all of that is like 3-0, Captain. That's good stuff.
10-4.
Yeah.
That's all they got from that.
10-4, buddy. 100%
Poopies and
agree.
boobies. Let's do it.
Bye.
I'm like gonna take a poop and go look at some boobs.
Yeah. You probably need this.
Trying to get me drunk and take advantage of me, Ben?
I mean, now also we're gonna talk about 6-figure stuff.
I'm not like I wasn't actually getting like I could not fucking stop yawning, dude.
I know your eyes were watering.
Whew.
I could see.
Fuck.
We all know.
And it wasn't that boring. Like I promise you.
We all know that feeling when you're like, and you're like flexing your neck to not yawn. Like, are you smiling? Or are you?
No. Fuck.
I think it's just the week, man.
Dude, I don't even know. I even like So I met Jeremy at this bar that's by ICDI, like it's called the Country Place.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little bar right there. So I met up with him last night. I fucking left at like 6 from the bar, and I'm like, I don't. Maybe it's the time change thing. I don't fucking know. But I was just like fucking beat. And then this morning, like it felt like we did a podcast last night, but we. It was like I was just fucking having a beer at the bar. Like it's like fuck me. Dude, I bought like fucking like 6 drinks. And it was like $22. I was like, what the fuck?
Hell yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna backtrack a little bit there as far as turbo stuff goes. Yeah, so it kind of comes down to, how long it takes to actually do all that. And it's not that, like we're under the gun, but we're kind of under the gun. We want to get this thing done and sold.
Well, yeah. You want to take advantage of the market.
Exactly. That's a big part of it. You're right there.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I was going to go into a Fauci, but I don't want to overdo it. I want people to ask for my Fauci.
So we threw a reman turbo on there, and she runs great. And we did I did the bearings.
So you guys are
On
pretty
the way
much
home?
done.
Just about. There's just lots of other small knicky-knack stuff. As per usual, once you start, and I've mentioned this for a couple other things too. When you get into either older high mileage truck or just truck that's been used hard, we go in to do the hub bearings on the rear axle, and I'm glad we took it apart because the brake pads were toast.
Yeah.
Like just enough to where we could get away. Like ideally, I would have liked to have the rotors turned, but we just don't have the time to do that right now.
Yeah.
So we just did a good, clean and lube on the calipers and pad slab it.
Yeah. Do you for me when for a rig like that you guys are like just basically fixing to resell.
Mhm.
Like when you go to sell it, like do you ever feel like wow, this guy's going to ask a bunch of questions about like, oh, how long have you had it? And like all this stuff, like, you know what I mean? Like 'cause that happened to me with like boats, where I'd have a boat for like I'd have a different boat like every like 2 months.
Every summer.
Yeah. They're like, oh, you've only had it for this long. Why? Like, do you ever like think to yourself like feel bad? Like, oh, I literally bought this to sell it. Do you think that deters people from like wanting the truck?
I think it kind of goes either way. I think to myself, and it goes with where the market is at that point.
Right.
Because I think the market has cooled off a little bit.
Like, if someone comes to look at it, are you going to tell them like, yeah, I bought this truck for, it had a couple issues that we diagnosed and fixed, and everything's fixed now, and it's good to go. And like, do you think that affects the overall?
I think it does, but
Basically, I'm asking if you're going to lie on the listing.
no, I think that for something like that, my MO as far as being a salesperson in that situation, and this goes for think of this like flip side if you're someone who's buying it, because obviously if they do the Carfax, you're going to be able to see like we've owned it for barely any.
Yeah, right.
My go-to to them is like, look, I bought this knowing I had some issues with it. I was gonna, I had some bigger plans for it. Plans changed, so we got it in running and driving condition, so we're selling it.
Yeah.
That's it. It's and if they have more questions, they want to know like, oh, well, what issues did it have and what'd you do to it? I have no problem telling them like we tore into it, we did this, and this. I've got pictures, I've got the old parts if you want to see them. But yeah, we replaced the valve, the cooler, we did all that. It's got fluids in it. We did bearings on this side. I have no problem telling that part of it.
Right.
And if they drive it, they'll be able to tell that those things are done.
Yeah.
And I don't think we're asking the world for it.
Right.
Once it comes time to, and I think that the market has cooled off, not in our favor. So
it's still
we're gonna see.
Yeah.
And most of
here's
this
the thing:
we're going
selling.
into winter.
Well, exactly. Selling a 4-wheel drive right before winter.
Mhm.
I feel like that
So
goes back up.
The person that we're trying to hit right now is the buyer that we're trying to hit right now is someone who needs a heavy duty truck. Like they don't need a 250, they don't need a 350. They need something that this thing's got an S110X on the back. The thing is built like a brick shit house.
Right.
All right, it rides like a shit house.
Yeah.
But you can literally beat the. I tried so hard not to say that. I didn't. You can beat the living crap out of this truck, and it's just going to smile and keep asking for it.
Right.
Because that's the way it was built.
Yeah.
We're that guy that needs that truck that can't wait for the 2022 to come out, or shit, he might even have a 21 ordered that still hasn't come out yet because things are backed up, or the price of those things is so far through the roof that where someone may have in the past always kind of just bought a truck and kept it for 4 years, traded in and bought it where their money is not going as far as it should. And they're like, you know what, at this point in my life, I'd rather, I've got this cash, I can buy that truck. And, I know that like I'm dealing with right now. I know it's going to nickel and dime me a little bit here, but I have a truck. It's working. The other option is spend way more money for a truck that I don't even have yet.
Right.
Like this gets me back up and going now.
Yeah.
And later on down the road, if things pick back up and I can get my new truck again, here's my backup. Or I'll
Right.
sell it or something like that.
Yeah.
That's the guy we're looking for. And I think we'll get it. Because honestly, it's a good-looking truck. I think as far as a work truck goes, it's a little too tall in my taste. But if it's for someone that needs to, pull something or needs to be in some kind of sketchy terrain, like maybe a logging guy or something like that, or
Yeah.
someone that's like out in like soupy construction like scenarios,
Right.
this is your jam.
Yeah.
It's a little lifted. It's on, basically like almost like a super single type wheel, 37s, chunky tires, solid axles front and back, leaf springs.
It's ready.
Let her eat.
Yeah.
Like just 4-wheel drive, just let her buck, dude.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think that's a good. When you first told me about that, I was like, that's probably a good one to, start your little flipping game. you
Yeah,
know?
I went back and forth as far as the cab and chassis part of it goes, with it being an F-450. But
Yeah.
the more I kind of look at it, it's like, you know what? If someone needs the truck, they're going to buy the truck. It's a
Right.
truck. We've talked about it before. You're never knocking any truck.
Well, there's an ass for every seat. So.
Exactly. And we've just, I don't want to talk too much about financials on it, but we got it for such a good deal that we're going to be okay.
Yeah.
And
Well, I think it's great. I
yeah.
think it's great. I'm glad you figured it out.
And I will say the selling point on this truck is not only it looks cool. So if you're looking for like an F-450 that's not just your normal work truck looking truck, it's a good looking truck.
Yeah.
It's got a Bradford built flatbed on it. It's a beast. Like when we drive it around, like we get, thumbs ups, like shaka bro, like dude, we get looks. Like this truck, this is not a just, it makes you feel cool. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
And you feel like a fucking badass driving it.
Yeah.
But the where was I going with the other part? Oh, the interior. The interior is not trashed, and for an F-450, it doesn't have vinyl floors.
And it's cloth. It's not like
It's-
the
Yeah,
Fake
it's not
leather.
the fake leather. It's
Yeah.
it's cloth floors or the normal floors with cloth seats. And I actually pulled it's got a 40-40-20 front seat, so it doesn't have a bench front seat. So I actually pulled the entire front seats out, took them home with me for a week or two, and fully cleaned hard. Those seats look brand freaking new when I brought them back.
right on.
And we shampooed the entire interior. We cleaned the headliner. Like I went through the dash with a fine tooth comb. This thing is the selling point is like, yes, this truck has some exterior dings, but it's a work truck and everything like that. But at the same time, the inside of this thing, you're not getting into a shit box. This thing's
Right.
nice on the inside.
Yeah. That's cool.
That's where we're gonna go with it. I'll be honest, man. I like driving it.
Well, I hope you make a lot of money on it.
I kind of want to keep it. I'll be honest. I don't need it at all. It makes me want to keep it, but I don't need it at
You
all.
probably have to get rid of one of your.
I'd have to get rid of one of my trucks, yeah, and I can't part with the blue truck. It does too good of what it needs to do.
It's
And
just a ratty, just like
middle finger, just
yeah, it's
Yeah.
just like yeah, my bed's effed up. What? What? Like, I
Exactly.
feel like that's what that truck does.
like that truck. The only thing, okay, if you're watching YouTube, you can see me right now. Okay, like I'm. In the weekends, I may have a hat on, otherwise my hair's sticking like straight up.
Yeah.
I have like 2 pairs of pants I wear on the weekend and 1 flannel that's stained to shit. I
Yeah.
look like an absolute ass hat on the weekends.
Yeah.
Like just run down, working, unshaved. Like I don't care.
Right.
Pants are stained, boots are stained, shirt stained. Don't care. The truck is scratched, it's dented up. The thing you're gonna see this truck, you're gonna see me and you'll be like, God, what an a-hole. And I get closer to you, and all you hear is Rebel Sun turned up to 9,000 with blown out speakers,
Yeah.
and I can't keep smoke off the pipe. The
Yeah.
truck runs dirty. It's
Yeah.
freaking loud. It's dirty. It's a manual, and I don't care if it's like 9,000 degrees outside and the AC's on. The windows are down.
Yeah.
Like 100%.
Yeah. Yeah.
Deal with it.
Yeah.
It just
Just fits you.
yeah.
It's like yeah.
I have debated. This would be bringing it back old school, but I have debated like on the front of the hood where it kind of curves down. I want to get a printed decal that spans the whole hood that says "Hippie Hunter."
You're gonna be one of those, huh? You might as well just throw some freaking bullhorns on the front.
Nah, just hippie hunter.
Just hippie hunter.
And I tell you right now, the only thing stopped me from doing that is pinstriping.
Dude, I love
Pinstriping's so good.
pinstriping. Love it.
Yeah.
I don't have a steady enough hand to do it.
No. I don't know how anybody does that, honestly. But there you go, folks. There is the update on the old 6-liter tray.
I hope everybody gotta stretch out.
Yeah.
After I took a little nap.
What I would like from you guys, here's your homework.
Yeah.
I have thoroughly enjoyed getting people to sound off in the comments on YouTube. And it's not necessary to get us more YouTube views, because honestly, our viewership on YouTube is garbage. I'll be 100% honest. Like, we get more, it's a podcast. No one
Nobody wants
watches
to just sit
a
here.
podcast.
Right. We get it. We get it.
Like, we don't have good visual effects. Like, oh, I touched Tyler. Like, we've done a couple that have, like, where we take apart turbos and whatnot. Those are good ones to watch.
Yeah.
But otherwise, the podcast, we don't, I mean, maybe one day we'll have good, things
Visual
that fly in and visual, but we're not there yet.
Yeah. It's because we need 200 more reviews.
Yeah. 199 won't do it.
200.
Well, we need 200.
Actually, just 100 would do it, but I'm greedy.
But that's in my opinion, so far, that's the best place to have kind of like the comments going off back and forth.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I want to hear about like your adventures as far as like the stupid thing you found out.
Yeah. The weirdest issue with a truck that made you feel dumb once you found the fix.
Yeah. Like did
you guys tell that I was reading that off of a board?
Yeah.
Could you?
The other big one that made me feel real dumb, and if you haven't heard the whole story, I'll probably put it in another podcast. But it was when I found out the misfire issue in my Suburban from way back in the day.
Yeah.
I was like, that I almost put a bullet in that thing when I figured. Honestly, before I figured out, I really wanted to shoot it, and after I figured out, I wanted to shoot it just because I was so pissed off. That's what it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that type of thing, when you find out and you figure it out, and you're like, God. But the good thing is, folks, if you did that and you figured it out, you take that knowledge and everything you learned, you put in your back pocket, and you're smarter and better for it.
Yeah.
That's bring it round circle. I don't know, we're all kumbaya.
Yeah.
Everybody's happy about it.
Come on, bro.
Kumbaya, brah. Just hop on the 405 and just get a kumbaya. Catch a slap the lip and get pitted, bruh. What, doesn't make you happy?
It's just I just no.
Okay. That's going to about wrap this one up, folks. I greatly appreciate all you guys tuning in. It's been a pleasure talking to you guys about 6-liter stuff. Tyler's going to walk out and curry. And hopefully next week we'll have some Cummins related to talk about.
Well, maybe.
Yeah. We do appreciate all of these suggestions that you guys have given us on Instagram and other places. Keep putting them up there.
Seriously, we have probably a lot more that we need to go through.
Oh, yeah. We have a ton of them.
And I enjoy that because it's like, I like the off the cuff stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just like, whatever. Like, what do you got? Okay, ask me a weird question. Let's do it. Like,
Yeah.
I like that stuff. So.
And as before, like I've always mentioned, questions, because we talk about a lot more than just diesel truck stuff on here. Questions can be like, I would say, diesel related, deviated by like 40-50%.
Yeah.
Like throw it out there, man.
Listen, no matter what question you ask, I guarantee I can tie it back into diesel trucks just somehow.
That way we can talk about it on the podcast.
Boom.
Boom. There you go, boys. And girl, because it's like one girl who listens to this probably. It's not my wife. It's not your wife.
No, definitely isn't my wife.
Hates this podcast. It's like, trucks, I hear enough about it. I don't care. So, anyways, folks, we appreciate you all. We'll see you next week.
Bye. We did it. We did it.
Yeah, so the reason I had to FaceTime